Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for joining me on our CLV for 2023 workshop. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be talking all about CLV. Right now, it's all about, usually tends to be all about focusing on email and SMS, but there's some secrets, really great secrets about optimizing for retention and focusing on lifetime value that I'm so excited to share that with you. At the end of the day, it's all about turning one-time buyers into lifetime buyers, and that's exactly what this webinar will talk about. At the same time, it's not just enough to turn a one-time buyer into two-time, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. It's about doing it at a pace that works for your business, right? So our goal is to kind of learn how to turn one-time buyers into lifetime buyers in about half the time. Super important. So I'm really excited to share this webinar with you. Let's get started right away. So let's talk a little bit about what this webinar will cover in just about 45 minutes of your time, who we are. I'm going to talk about who we are, who we work with, and why we're sharing our unique strategies with you right here. We're going to dive into why customer lifetime value is critical for brands right now in 2023, right? I always say right now, it's a big line of mine. The way to beat a recession is with retention, right? That's not my line. It is my line, but it's a line I'm learning from the experts out there, the top brands who I'm working with, and some of the biggest venture capitalists in the world who are kind of investing in these small brands, the direct-to-consumer brands, and they're saying that retention is the best way to beat it. So that's definitely what we want to focus on. We want to learn how to create a long-term CLV strategy for brands while also creating short-term revenue wins. Really important to kind of have that cash flow coming in every week, every month, you name it, instead of thinking about all the way down the road, a year, 2 years, 3 years in some cases, for lifetime value, right? You can't wait a whole life just for lifetime value. We want to figure out how to create how the top 1% utilize email and SMS as the core pillar of their CLV strategy. I'm going to give you some case studies on the results you can expect when you focus on CLV this year, and then give you the key tactics to implement these strategies and turn one-time buyers into lifetime buyers in about half the time. So super excited to jump right in. Let's get started with it. This webinar is mainly geared towards the following types of businesses, right? So if you're an e-commerce brand looking to scale fast this year, this is for you. It's for business owners who pivoted to e-commerce during the pandemic, but haven't quite figured it out yet, or are finding right now at this stage in the game that there's opportunities that existed during the pandemic, and now you got to figure out how to squeeze more juice out of that, more juice out of that squeeze, right? You want to get more value out of your current customers because the pandemic surge is dying down. It's for e-commerce shops who are looking to break free from Amazon and create a direct-to-consumer position. This is for retailers who want to establish a competitive advantage within their niche and make sure that they are staving off all those other smaller competitors out there, or they may just not be staffed enough to get to the next level. So this will help you get some good perspective to bring in a strategist for it. It's for DTC brands who are looking to stand out from the ever-growing list of brands in their space, and for digitally native e-commerce brands who want to ensure customer loyalty in a very fickle marketplace. This webinar is going to be perfect for you. It will teach you the strategies you need to scale your brand to the next level. So if you registered and stay to the end, right, I'm giving away our free Launchpad bundle. This is a free digital PDF copy of my new book. That's my book right here. Let me pile it up on my screen. Maybe you'll see my corner right here. The Ultimate E-commerce Email and SMS Playbook. About 330 pages or so of great value, great information, great content in there that will give you a good foundation to start your email, SMS, and retention strategy. You can even email me at isaac@highflyerdigital.com. I will gladly mail you a free hard copy. We're giving away the digital copy. It's just easier for people to get pretty quickly. But you can get a free hard copy from me. Just send me an email. You could buy the Kindle version on Amazon as well. And within this Launchpad bundle is a whole bunch of different value. Campaign calendars, top 10 automations and how to build them, email and SMS cheat sheet, right? What else we have? We have a growth guide, how to scale your business using acquisition and retention, with the pillar being email, right? That's the main key, email and SMS. All that is included within this Launchpad bundle. It's about, right now, it's about a $5,000 value. That's totally free if you stay to the end. So if you're serious this year about growing your lifetime value and focusing on short-term wins and long-term gains, turn off your cell phone. Let's get your full attention here so you can really zero in on the key focus areas for your business that will help you compete to win in a very crowded marketplace, certainly against the top brands. A little bit about me. A little bit about myself, my background. I was the director of CRM at some of the top brands in the world. Even now, I have some billion-dollar brands on my client roster. I work with some of the biggest names in the business right now in the e-commerce space. And you saw my book. I'm the author of the Ultimate E-commerce Email and SMS Playbook. I literally wrote the book on it because I felt I wanted to give the top strategies out to the small brands out there, help you guys compete to win. So I'm on a mission to do that. I've literally sent about 1 billion emails annually, directly attributing about 345 million in revenue, attributable revenue. I've managed multi-million member email lists. I was the award winner for best email performer at Blue Core Summit. I've worked against and competed against Sephora, Jockey, Nike, some of the top brands out there, and in some cases beat them on their own strategies as well. Guest speaker at eTail, guest speaker at Post Funnel Summit, Optimove's Post Funnel Summit, and other events as well. I've worked with hundreds of brands and e-commerce stores overall, but my main claim to fame, my main advantage is that I've been on your side of the table. If you're an e-commerce brand who is running, one of you is running the CRM strategy or the email and SMS strategy, I've been on your side of the table. I know the struggles you're going through. I know what you're dealing with. If you're at a big retailer and you don't know where to start and you're kind of struggling to get it off the ground, I've been on your side of the table. I know what you need to do, and I'm here to help. So that's really what my value is. Really so important to know that side of it. I'm here with you. A little bit about our mission. Our mission is to help the small business compete to win in a very crowded marketplace and help level the playing field with the top brands. And we achieve that by bringing the core strategy, the email, SMS, and retention strategies to the small business. Okay, you see this graph right here. About 8% of brands are in that range of about 1 to 25 million, right? There's a huge opportunity for you to go from 1 to 25 million to the next level, and it starts with retention. But 90% of brands don't even make it to that $1 million mark. So as they say, what takes you to $1 million will not get you to 25 million. So it comes down to understanding what are the retention strategies you need. It's not just about acquisition all the time. Acquisition is part of it. But if you keep acquiring new customers and letting customers out the back door while bringing ones in the front door, you're not going to win. You're not going to compete to win. So it's really important to focus on retention. A little bit about why High Flyer Digital exists. We exist. Everything we do is centered around building a better customer relationship, right? How we do that is by listening, personalizing, and connecting to every customer on a one-to-one level. The more you personalize, the more you connect, the better relationship you're building. And that's literally the core of our strategy. That's literally the core of everything we do. It's about personalizing, connecting with the customer, with the person behind the email, right? Behind the SMS, behind the phone number. If you're not connecting with that person, you're not going to get anything off the ground. It's not about the email. It's not just about the opens and clicks. It's about the connection, right? The signs they give you are their opens and clicks, but what happens is that the relationship needs to be built. So that's really what we do. That's why we exist, right? It's about building a better customer relationship. We do that by connecting with customers on a one-to-one level. And the best way to do that is using email and SMS. It's the most intimate form of communication with most customers, right? Every time they sign up for something, it's their email, it's their phone number. It's not necessarily their Facebook profile, it's not their TikTok handle, it's nothing of that sort. It's their email and SMS, which is the number one most customer-centric channel you can have, identifier you can have, really. So that's why we exist. And I can go through tons of case studies about how we've helped brands really grow to the next level but the key part about it is that I've worked with some of the biggest brands out there. We're talking, again, billion-dollar brands, multi-million-dollar brands, million-dollar brands, you name it, runs the gamut. And the key behind it is not about the size of your list. Most people think that it's about how many emails you have and can you monetize enough from the email list you have. It's not about the size of your list. It's about the relationship you have to the list, right? Or you can have a 100,000 member email list and you can have a 100 million member email list. The revenue opportunities are the same as long as the strategy is the same. So that's one thing I learned personally, right? I have a pretty large email database that I work with, about 25,000 members alone, but I realized it's not about the size of the list. You can have the biggest size list and still be doing nothing with it. And you can have a smaller list and really, really killing it. So bear in mind that these strategies work for the top brands and they can work for the small brands. So you just need to implement it pretty quickly. So let's go a little bit deeper, right? Here's one thing I've noticed, right? If you notice, you look around, you internet, you're shopping around. I'm sure we all came out of President's Weekend right now. We all started buying all these great items and all these sales and discounts came to the forefront. So the top 1%, they just love email. They love people to sign up. It's email, love people to submit their SMS, their phone number, right? They just love it. Why? That's the question. Why? Why are brands totally focused on the minute you come to visit them, they want to get your data point, right? Well, we know deep down that there's a desire, there's a need for first-party data, right? Where you can get information from a customer, opt it in and say, I want to hear from you. I want to build a relationship with you. That's one of the top reasons they do it, right? It's so important for brands to focus on that. That first-party data source unlocks this multiple data points that many customers don't even know about, but brands do, right? So they all focus on getting that email and that phone number. Now, let's dive into that a little bit more. Why email and SMS is the most important channel for your e-commerce brand, right? It goes beyond, of course, acquisition is super important. Retention is just as important, if not more important. But here's the thing, if you email and SMS, you can build a really strong foundation there. And once you get a new customer in the door, email and SMS sets the tone and starts building that relationship and growing the lifetime value. That's why we're on this call. That's why we're on this webinar right here. So it's really important to grow that lifetime value right here, right now. And it starts with getting that foundation right. So at face value, email and SMS is about $44 ROI for every $1 invested. It's the most profitable channel. It has no ad spend, none. You maybe spend per email sent, but that's so minimal compared to how much you spend on Google and Facebook ads. It's the own channel versus a borrowed channel. You have the data, you own it, you can do whatever you want with it. You can market them here, market them there. Email is a unique customer identifier as well. The minute they sign up, right? When you download an app, when you get a loyalty card in H&M or Zara or wherever you are, they ask for your email, right? Because it identifies you across the internet. The Pareto principle states that 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of your customers. Now I'm not saying exactly 80-20, but the point is majority of your revenue will come from your best customers. Proven fact. So if you focus on the best customers using email and SMS, that will yield you the best results. So focus on maximizing that customer lifetime value. And if you keep growing and delighting those customers, you will yield more revenue and profits in the long term. That's another reason why email and SMS is most profitable. At the end of the day, you don't want to look at your efforts and say, wow, I got a ton of revenue with limited profits. Email and SMS solves that for you. But if it's so important, why do e-commerce brands fail at it, right? Why do they fail at email SMS, and why do customers really, really hate that? Great question, right? The reason most brands fail at it is they focus on selling. They focus on selling and not building relationships, right? Sell, 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 sell. Buy my product, buy my product. They're not focused on learning, hearing what customers want. What does that relationship look like? It's a two-way street. You got to communicate with people because there's a person behind the email. So you got to focus on building a relationship, listening to what they're saying through their engagement, through their visiting patterns, through their browsing patterns, through their cart abandons, everything, and market that way, right? Because that builds a better relationship. But most brands don't do that. They also focus on the batch and blast approach, right? Spray and pray. Send as many emails as we can, get it out the door so we can start kind of like, seeing what sticks, right? I'm not sure it's going to be working, right? That's what brands say. I'm not sure what's going to work. Let's just send it out there, see what sticks. That's a terrible approach because it treats people just like, open wallets and open pocketbooks. It's that brute force attack, as we always say. A lot of brand owners also project their own email experience on results. I get a ton of emails. Let's be honest. I get a ton of emails. I run an email marketing agency, right? I run an agency that signs up for all these emails. I'm a marketer. I sign up for a ton of emails, of course. But, I know the value of it. But a lot of brand owners say like, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh, get too many emails. Who buys from it anymore? False. That's why they project a different experience. That's why it doesn't work for them, because they think it doesn't work. That's the irony. Brands sometimes don't have time to focus on learning and A/B testing. There's just not enough time in the day. Sometimes when you need to hit your numbers, sometimes when you need to grow as a business, you focus on kind of selling, getting the numbers out, getting the email out. There's no testing, there's no learning, there's no refining. So they don't achieve what they want to achieve. Brands also don't realize that the customer's journey is not linear. Sometimes what you promote in your email or your text may not be what they buy, and that's okay. So don't look down on the channel because of that. And also, it's just not as sexy as social media or influencers. A lot of brands think, oh, influencers are important, and that's important. Social media is more important. Again, it's important, but you need to have that foundation. Pareto principle, get those 80%, get your customers that you own to buy more rather than go seek out more of them using influencers or social media, right? You want to focus on having the customers and owning it and marketing it to them. But it's just not super sexy, right? It's not really super popular. And finally, a lot of brands fail because 75% of e-commerce customers demand personalization. Brands sometimes aren't set up to do that high-level personalization that brands expect. And when you're competing against the top 1%, it's hard to get to that level. I'm going to help you get there, but it's hard to do that at the very start. So that's where they fail. According to McKinsey, that's why they abandon you. So now that we know why it's important and why most brands fail at it, here's why it's critical to stop the bleeding right now. Here's why it's critical to get email, SMS, and retention super leveled up right now this year. Number one, COVID-19 disrupted traditional buying patterns. Okay, we know that. Everyone knows that by now. I've been saying it for about 2 years. It disrupted the traditional buying patterns, shooken up the snow globe, and pieces are landing. If they haven't landed already by now, pieces are have landed. COVID-19 is kind of almost a distant memory in some cases. So most customers have settled in their traditional buying patterns. And if you haven't absorbed the customers you gained, you're at a loss because Amazon and your competitors are absorbing them for you. Okay, so you need to focus on keeping the customers you gained and growing their lifetime value. Paid ads are getting more expensive. ROAS is dwindling. Customer acquisition costs are scattered, right? iOS changes are screwing up your attribution models for customer acquisition. That's a problem. You don't know what's working to get new customers. What are you going to do? You have to focus on retention, make sure that's set up correctly so you can start figuring that part, acquisition side out, right? DTC brands and apps are coming for you. They're all trying to introduce new ways to get your customer data and use it for themselves, right? And if they own your data, that doesn't help you. You need to own your own data and market it on your terms. It costs 600% more to acquire a customer than retain a customer. So if you're focused specifically on acquisition and not retention, you're spending a lot more than you need to. And then finally, customers are just up for grabs now, right? They're still up for grabs. They're willing to shift around back and forth, right? They're still shopping around to figure out when they're going to settle on their brands. And if they have settled on your brand, you got to keep them loyal because the top brands are coming for them. So focus on customer retention, keeping them long-term, and that's how you're going to win. That's how you're going to beat out the Amazons of the world, the direct-to-consumer brands and the apps who are stealing data. So it's so urgent to act right now on keeping your customers loyal to you. I'm going to give a quick sneak peek now, just a quick sneak peek at the strategy we use for email, SMS, and retention. And it's so important. It's so basic. It's so simple, yet it speaks volumes when you see it in action. And I'll show some case studies about how we worked it really well for some of the top brands in the world and how it's so simple, but it works really well. So those who know, I abbreviate it as a really cheesy name called the spam strategy because everyone knows what spam is. And I took the initials. Made that acronym is very useful for what we're doing, right? So it stands for segmentation, personalization, automation, and multiplication, right? Segmentation, personalization, automation, multiplication. You excel in those 4 pillars. You have a really high-performing email, SMS, and retention strategy ready to go. Let's go a little bit deeper. What does that mean? Segmentation is the right person. Find the right person for the message. Personalization is sending them the right message. Automation is at the right time in their buying cycle, in their purchasing pattern, at the time of day even. And then multiplication is how to repeat that for different product lines, different customer cohorts, different types of brands, you name it, and scaling that out. Okay, so right person, right message, right time, repeat. Right person, right message, right time, repeat. Right, that's really what you need to remember in order to excel at building a better customer relationship for your brand. Right person, right message, right time, and repeat it over and over and over again. This works for some of the largest DTC brands we work with in health and beauty, in food and grocery, you name it. And it works for some of the top retailers in the world because you'd be so surprised. Some of them aren't doing this level of personalization that we do, that we know, nor the level of automation. I'm going to kind of walk you through a little bit kind of why you need all 4 pillars to really get to the next level. You got to find the right person. You got to send them the right message at the right time in their buying cycle and repeat and scale it. I've seen brands that have done really well in segmentation, but failed at personalization. And then I've seen some brands that fail to automate once they excel in the first 2. So you're just stuck doing manual work. You got to have all 4 pillars to succeed. I have a whole separate webinar on our spam strategy and how to leverage it. This is not for that. This is not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about LTV right now, but your goal is to excel in all 4 pillars. So I really invite you to go check out the past webinar, get my book. And again, you go to highflyerdigital.com/playbook, and glad to share with you exactly even deeper, like send you the book so you can learn the strategy. But really, if you do this one really well, you'll be in a very, very good place to keep customers for a long time. So let's get a little bit deeper now into the LTV discussion, lifetime value. Really, that's what it's about, lifetime value, keeping customers loyal for a long time, okay? Super important. And it starts with this. It starts with how you restructure your thinking, right? So most brands think in terms of the funnel, right? They all think funnel. You keep a customer in, you bring them down the funnel, you kind of delight them, you engage them, discover, consideration, conversion, all these cool little things. And then they drop out the other end and it's a sale. Amazing. The top brands, though, focus on the flywheel approach. Flywheel approach grows with the customer. It attracts them, it delights them, it engages them, and then they buy again. And then they share with their friends. And then they refer and advocate for you. That's the way to grow lifetime value. Problem is, again, most brands think about the funnel, which is a one-time sale. But the flywheel mindset is much more helpful when you're trying to grow customer lifetime value. Here's a great example of that, right? Here's some of the problems with customers that are churning. 74% of customers are one-time buyers and not very profitable. Okay, you see that chart right there. It's 80% of those customers are actually gained at a discount. Okay, so we're talking not very profitable. You think about it this way: you sacrificed ads, paying Google money to get them, paying Facebook money to get them back to your site, right? You're making Google and Facebook rich. That's the funnel, right? You're making Google and Facebook rich. You're giving them free shipping. You're giving them a discount. You're giving them potentially free returns, right? All these little value adds that are money, right? So, and then they only buy one time. That is a very unprofitable one-time buyer that never buys again. Terrible. So if you're spending most of your energy on acquisition, you're missing out on a major opportunity using retention to get them from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and on. Okay. Most brands, again, they focus on acquisition and you need that. But if you don't have the foundation to grow that one-time buyer, you're stuck. You're stuck with very low profits, very low profit to share. Okay. So again, the funnel makes Google and Facebook rich. The flywheel, using email, SMS, and retention, focused on lifetime value, makes you rich for a change. Wouldn't you take that, right? So we want to create a profitable, predictable, and sustainable revenue stream for your business that hits good lifetime value numbers with short-term revenue wins so you can pay your bills, obviously. Okay, just a quick glance at that graph right there. You see that big gap between 1 and 2? Look at that one-time buyer right there, right? 74%. And look at how hard it is to get them to two-time buyers. We're going to go through that. But once you get them to two-time buyers, it's much easier for them to go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 and on. Okay, really important takeaway for that. Let's dive into a little bit now about LTV goals and what do we want to achieve with lifetime value. Okay, what I'd like you to take out of this webinar right now is thinking big picture, flywheel, grow value over time. The flywheel is from the book Good to Great. I have it in the back over there, where it's talking all about, the flywheel push, constantly small little turns on the flywheel leads to constant momentum and just on and on and on and on, right? So that's really important to remember. But there's goals we can hit right now. So the 4 goals I would zero in on that you take away from this webinar are, I want you to be able to track the critical time periods between acquisition and purchasing. I want you to know for a fact, as best as you can, you'll go into your data after this webinar, go into your data. I want you to track how long does it take to get a new subscriber and turn them into a buyer. And how long does it take to get a visitor and turn them into a buyer, right? And then how long does it take to get that one-time buyer into two-time buyer? Get that data, track it. Starts with tracking, know your numbers. Then, second goal, identify which products and channels provide the best LTV for your customers. Great example of this, if you have a loss leader product, I'll take an example of one of our clients. If you have like a hair care serum and everyone's buying that product, that's great. How long does it take for them to buy again? And then how long does it take for them to buy something else related to that, or a bundle, or spend more? That's not a discount, right? So that's another way you can identify which products, and then identify which channels. Does Google provide the most customers that have a high propensity to grow in lifetime value? Or is it Facebook? Or is it TikTok? Or is it direct mail, right? What channels are attributing these customers? So you want to identify those. You want to then next, now that you know your numbers, decrease the lag between the CLV stages. I know I'm going a little high level, but also I don't want to go too deep into the numbers too, because I'm not going to geek out here, but you want to decrease the lag. So if I know that I get a customer, and it takes them 7 days to buy a product, and then it takes them 60 days to buy their next product, I want to decrease that time period. I want to shrink that 7 days to 5 days. And I want to decrease that 60-day window to 30 days. Okay, that's your goal. That's to increase lifetime value on your terms. And then finally, you want to optimize for long-term growth with short-term revenue gains. Think to yourself, okay, great. So a person just bought a product. I could wait 60 days and have them buy another one. So figure every 60 days they're going to buy another product. Not bad, but I can't wait 60 days for them to buy items all the time, right? I'd like for them to buy a product every 30 days so I can pay my bills, right? Or whatever it is. I got to pay my warehousing fees. So all those are kind of like, how do you optimize long-term growth with short-term revenue gains? Upsell, cross-sell, different promotions, different offers. All these play a role. So you want to focus on optimizing for long-term growth with short-term gains. So the end result I'd like you to get out of this after this webinar and take action is get the actionable data on your customers, which provides the most LTV for you. Really important to remember that. Let's do some quick napkin math. Who doesn't love napkin math? For those who don't know what napkin math is, it's you go to a cafe, you do a store, or you go talk to a business or whatever it is, and you take out a napkin and you write down some numbers, right? So I'll give you a quick LTV on how to calculate a quick napkin math solution for how to calculate LTV that I think we all know. We all go to a coffee shop and we buy a cup of coffee, right? So here's a quick look at it. In order to calculate LTV, you want to go get the average dollar amount of your purchase, multiply that by the number of customer purchases per year, and then multiply that by the average length of the customer relationship in a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever window you want to choose. And that equals customer lifetime value. Here's an example. If I bought a $1 cup of coffee, a $2 cup of coffee every week, 52 weeks a year, 5 days a week, my LTV looks like it's calculated out to about $520 in lifetime value. That means a customer comes in your door, buys 1 cup of coffee, you should already think, look at the lifetime value for this potential customer. Okay, this customer is worth $520 to me. Okay, then we can tweak that. Let's say they buy $2 cup of coffee for 52 weeks, 5 days a week, and they've been doing it for 5 years. Your average customer does it for 5 years. So their LTV is $2,600. So now you think of it even better. This customer will buy a cup of coffee every day, and they'll last for 5 years. That $2 cup of coffee from a new customer is worth a lot. Good potential. Let's take another look at it. Let's say I have a $2 cup of coffee and they buy a $5 muffin on Muffin Friday. Okay. Look at the LTV increase. It goes up $1,000. Same person, he buys 1 muffin on Friday. Okay. Look at the jump. So one $5 muffin could lead to another $1,000 in lifetime value, in potential lifetime value, right? It's up to you. You got to have a quality product. Let's face it. But you know what I mean? So that's kind of how you do quick napkin math. So I want you to go back after this webinar, start doing some napkin math. What does that one customer look like? How often do they buy? What does your LTV look like? And how can you pull different levers to grow that? Okay. And what's also stopping people from getting there? That's the other element. So now that we know kind of like the goals of LTV, again, this is basic, and I really want to keep it basic and make it like understandable. One of my missions is to keep things super simple. Keep it super simple for brands to understand, because there's a lot of high-level strategies that can throw out a ton of math to you. It's gonna, eyes are gonna glaze over, and my eyes are gonna glaze over too. But I want to keep it really simple for you, so you understand it and then take action with it. Really, that's the key part. Take action, because if you don't get it, if you don't understand it, you're never going to do anything with it. So I want you to take action. So let's dive now into the three key strategies to focus on this month, this quarter, this year, to grow your lifetime value in half the time. These aren't hard to do. You just got to do it. Let's start with number one. So number one, we want to improve buyer migrations, okay? Buyer migrations means, very simply, you want to improve how often people go from one stage to the next stage, from a non-buyer stage to a one-time buyer stage, from a one-time to two-time, and also how to reduce churn, how to keep people from leaving. That's how you do it, okay? We want to focus on growing, delighting, and retaining customers for a long time. But most brands, again, focus on acquiring the next person. I got a sale, great. That's important. But how do you grow that one-time buyer who is not very profitable, remember, into a lifetime buyer? It starts by segmenting out different groups of customers. So I want you to kind of go back, start diving into the type of buyers you have. Who's my non-buyers? How many do I have? How many one-time buyers do I have? How many two-time buyers? How many VIP buyers? Maybe whatever your VIP window looks like. Most brands think VIP is like a 3-time buyer or more. A VIP buyer can be whatever you want to define a VIP buyer as, to be honest, right? A VIP buyer can be someone who bought in-store and online twice, or it could be someone who is signed up for rewards and loyalty. It really depends. It depends on your business. So really focus on who is my repeat buyer and my VIP buyer. Who's an at-risk buyer? Who has a propensity to maybe fall off their pattern of buying? This works really great for replenishment brands, because if you know a person replenishes their products every 30 days, and you know that every 30 days, this VIP customer used to buy every 30 days like clockwork for the last 3 years, and they fall off their pattern, that's an at-risk buyer. You want to make sure they don't go to the next level, which is churn. They've churned. They have not bought again when you expected them to buy. That's an important stage to know, because remember, 80-20, Pareto principle. You want to focus on your best buyers. If your best buyers aren't buying at the typical cadence you expect, that's a missed opportunity. You're not going to replace a churned loyal buyer with a new one-time buyer. Very, very difficult. And then the next part is the lost buyer. Someone who is totally off, had a bad experience. We'll try and solve that on the next strategy, but they had a bad experience and they're harder to win back. So each stage provides some value to you. Number one, you can identify where they are. You can track it and optimize it. And now you can also say, like, how do I prevent an at-risk buyer from becoming a churn buyer? And how do I prevent a churn buyer from becoming a totally lost buyer? You don't know this until you start measuring it. So you got to start by going out after this webinar, start building out those segments. If you're in Klaviyo, there's easy ways to build it out. Here's a really quick way about how to track the trends and kind of know what you're dealing with, and then improve the lag, improve that timeline. So here's a quick screenshot from Klaviyo. I was doing it for a couple other brands. I do this with every single brand we work with. Who are we dealing with, right? Who's all our buyers? Who's our one-time buyers? Who's our two-time buyers? Who's our VIP buyers? Who's our non-buyers, right? All those provide valuable data points. And if you see from the graph below, right, look at the red. The red is your typical lifetime value, right? Going slowly up there, waiting for a year, 2 years, 6 months, 3 years, whatever it may be. Our goal is to get that number to the green, grow it even faster, unlock that lifetime value as early as possible. So we get more cash flow. We got to pay our bills. We got to get that moving, right? So that's going to be helpful to you and the customer, because they'll extract a ton more value from your brand. So there's ways to track beyond just one time, two time, three time. You can go deeper. You could say segment out by buyers by frequency. You could do my multi-channel buyers, such as people who buy from email or people who buy from SMS. Or you could do people who buy on both channels, right? It's not email or SMS, it's email and SMS. You could filter out buyers who buy by product type. If you have buyers who are buying a product that are, hair care products, what's their LTV look like? What does their frequency of purchase look like compared to people who buy skincare, right? What does that LTV look like for them? What does their frequency of purchasing look like? You'd be surprised. There's totally different numbers, right? They could be totally different. You just have to know what's important to your business. If you have better margin on the hair care products than the skincare products, well, that's good to know, right? So you need to focus on the ones that give you the most profit most quickly. Segment out full price buyers versus discount buyers. Really important to know too, because if you're a discount buyer and they're just buying every time there's a discount, they don't have that high LTV that you expect. If they buy full price, that's even better. So you can have to segment that out. Buyers by frequency or RFM modeling, such as people who buy recency, frequency, monetary value. So if they buy a lot of bundles, for example, very often, that has a better value than someone who buys one product. So that's by RFM modeling, right? How often they buy, how big they spend, what does their AOV look like, right? How much, and how often, right? Recency. You can break out by in-store versus online buyers. So there's different segments you can break out here. And then also by loyalty credits and reward. A lot of brands have these loyalty programs, and they have credit card programs, and they have different strategies that are used to increase loyalty. Break those buyers out as well. So you can track those trends. And the one takeaway you have from this is to improve the lag times. So if you have a customer who has a credit card, right, they are invested in your brand enough to have a credit card, then guess what? They have shown indication that they're willing to buy more frequently. So your job is to get them to buy more frequently, right? That you know. But if you have a customer who does not have a credit card, they may buy a much less frequently. They'll buy more infrequently. So it's super important to know that and differentiate between the two. And you don't know until you track it. And then once you track it, you improve that lag time. That's how you optimize your buyer migrations. I'm going to give a really quick example right here about the LTV results when you do that, right? Here's one example where for a 9-figure e-commerce brand, where we turned one-time buyers into repeat buyers. Good example of this, right? A one-time buyer had a value of about $110, right? Annual value. And we knew what categories they preferred, what type of products they preferred. We knew kind of which channel, such as email, in-store, SMS, they preferred. And then we had some sort of measurable acquisition value, right? But by me getting them into a 2-time buyer, to a repeat buyer, I was able to grow their annual value from $110 to $864. That's a 7-time increase, right? And they have improved loyalty because I've got them to buy twice and trusted us twice. I know that they're now signed up for email and SMS because I got multi-channel preference. I asked them to sign up for SMS to get SMS alerts for their shipping notification. So now they have 2 channels they're bought into. And then I've enhanced the lifetime value, right? I've got them to buy quicker than just by waiting for them to buy. That's a great example of that. And of course, 25% jump in AOV and all other increases across the board just by turning one-time buyers into 2-time buyers for this 9-figure e-commerce brand. And when you're a 9-figure e-commerce brand and you're doing that and automating it over and over and over again, you're talking real money. You're talking real money. So really important to do that. Focus on buyer migrations. That's strategy number 1. Improve your buyer migrations, improve the lag time or decrease the lag time, move it up. Try and move it up. Don't be crazy. Don't think like, oh, this person only buys every 60 days. Let me try and get them to buy every 2 days, right? It's not going to happen. But if you go from 60 to 45, that's a good measurable impact to see how you're doing. Let's talk a little bit now about the strategy number 2 for increasing lifetime value of your customers. And this is one not many people dive into too well. It's the post-purchase hourglass, okay? This is an area where a lot of brands just fail. They just fail. And they're told by a lot of other apps and vendors and even agencies, to be honest. They're told, turn on an upsell, turn on a cross-sell email, right? Put on a loyalty program. Ask them for reviews, right? Give, you give to me, right? All these things of like, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this, all this want, right? And that's where they fail. Remember, the goal of email, SMS, and retention is to build a relationship. And if you keep asking people for more stuff, you don't get what you want. And that's why one-time buyers are so prevalent in e-commerce. This is where the post-purchase hourglass solves that. I'm going to dive into this right now. It's so important to remember. So first, I did a webinar. I did a podcast actually with one of my good friends, Avaji Labaton, over at The Perfect Gene. He was also at Kidbox. Superstar, knows his stuff. Keep an eye out for that brand. It's going really great places. I think I missed a slide here. In that webinar, we talked all about how marketing, email and SMS marketing is a lot like dating. You got to build a relationship. And eventually you want to get them over the finish line and have that marriage, dating and then marriage, and then you build a deeper relationship with that, right? So sales is like that dating and marriage. You get the sale, right? And then the LTV is that post-marriage relationship. And if you look at the bottom here, I don't know why this keeps skipping around. Sorry about that. If you look at the top right there, there's a screenshot from Love is Blind. It says, when you're just walk down the aisle and there's a totally new fiance there, or just like someone you didn't expect, and you're not sure if they're going to say yes and go with you through life. Well, that's how it is with a lot of e-commerce brands right now. They focus on getting that one-time sale, and they don't nurture the sale beyond into the post-sale. They let customer service do it. They let their customer relationship team do it. That is terrible. The email, SMS, and retention team needs to own that post-purchase strategy, right? You don't leave someone, you just marry. You don't court someone and just leave them. And you got to excel in delighting in the pre and post-purchase stages because it's critical to churn. 53% of customers will leave your brand because of the poor onboarding experience, weak relationship building, and poor customer service. Really important to remember that. So we need to focus on selling and cultivating that relationship into a next purchase, into a third purchase, and on and on and on. When you surprise, delight, and educate customers, they will buy more and then advocate for you. So now that we know that, now that you know kind of what you're up against, let's figure out how to do that, right? This is where the post-purchase hourglass comes in. Most brands focus on acquisition. They focus on, again, acquiring that one-time buyer, and we're good. But in reality, the top brands focus on growing, delighting, and retaining their customer. And it comes down to an hourglass approach, right? Funnels focus on that one-time sale. See that funnel right there? I just kind of take it as an example. Take that funnel, and then at that other end, you expand it. You expand that relationship. And it starts with 4 key stages that I've zeroed in on. I'm going to talk more in depth on this at a later webinar, but I'm going to give you the glance at it right now. 4 key stages you need to excel in to make it really happen, which are the adoption stage, retention stage, expansion, and advocacy. Okay. And when you focus on those 4 pillars of the post-purchase stage, you'll be a lot better. You'll keep customers for a long time. There's this amazing book, Never Lose a Customer Again, by, I think it's Joey Coleman. I recommend you buy it and read it cover to cover. It has a fantastic way of approaching your retention. And I've distilled it down to about like 4 key stages for e-commerce brands because it's a big book. You need to know how to use it. So these 4 stages are super important. And if you do it well, customers will keep with your brand for a very long time. Let's go into the stages as I use them for one of my other brands. When I was director of CRM, I rolled out this strategy and it really worked. It really worked. So first stage is the adoption phase, right? First phase, really. So customer buys a product. What you need to do to increase lifetime value is focus on the first stage, which is number 1, have you gotten the product and have you adopted it? Does it work? Does it turn on? Is it broken? Is everything in the box you expected? Do you have instructions? All these little things that we take for granted that there's someone shipped out the box. And most brands kind of throw it out to, fulfillment or warehousing or customer service. It's not my job to control what that looks like. It's your job, right? No, the retention strategy has got to be focusing on the fulfillment as well. So you need to focus your messaging, your emails, your post-purchase strategy on the adoption phase, making sure they have everything they need. The next stage is the retention phase, right? This is where you need to say, I know you could have brought this product anywhere, but you decided to buy it from us. Here's why. Here's what we're going to deliver to you because you trusted us. Think of it like, here's our new blog. Here's our content. Here's our expert tacticians. Here's our strategists that are going to help you maximize the value of your product. Here's our YouTube channel that has all these great unpacked videos. Here's all the content you've unlocked. Here's your rewards and loyalty that you've earned. All that is in the retention phase. You got to imbue them and adopt them and acclimate them to your brand so they stay and unlock this massive value that they thought they were just getting an item, right? No, they're not just getting a product. They're getting even more. That's where you retain them. That's the retention phase. The third phase is the expansion phase, where you start expanding them and say, okay, you've unlocked this amazing value. Everything works and it's great because you've adopted it. Here's where you can do even more, right? This is the upsell, cross-sell phase where you say like, oh, you bought a camera, right? Or for example, you bought a camera or you bought a bike. Here's what you can do with that bike. You can also add in these new cool pedals and this new gear shifter and this new helmet. You can do even more with it if you add these products to your roster and maximize the potential of your existing product. That's the expansion phase, okay? And then the final stage is the advocacy phase, when you then finally ask them, hey, you've gotten the product, we've delivered a massive amount of value to you, we've expanded the potential of the product you bought, now tell us how we did, right? I guarantee you each phase will have a higher result if you did the phase before it. No one should be upselling or cross-selling a customer until they adopt the product, until they have found delight and use the product, right? And you should never ask a customer for a review if they haven't, seen the value of your brand and haven't seen the value of the product and haven't gotten the maximum potential out of the product. It's your job to kind of help control that. So that's how you retain customers long-term. That's in the lifetime value. So going back to what I was saying, if you want to dive into this from an email and SMS perspective, here's how you do it. And I'm not going to go too deep into it because, again, there's a whole webinar planned around the post-purchase hourglass. But the adoption phase is a great place to send an email such as a user guide, how to turn it on, how to get value, what you need to know, right? So figure a couple emails outside after they make a purchase. Here's everything you need to know about this product. Here's how to use it. Here's how to leverage it. Then the retention phase comes in where you can see on the top right over there. Here's how to use your product and take it to the max level. Here's what these dials mean. Here's what this skincare routine looks like. Here's how to use the shampoo even better, whatever it may be, right? Explore the capabilities. Here's your bonus features. You've unlocked a new coupon code. You've unlocked some loyalty points. That's a great place for retention. That's another place to put all those emails. And there could be multiple emails for this, right? The retention phase could be long or it could be really short, depends on the product. Then you have the expansion phase where you as a brand expand it. What other products complement their value? What other accessories can you add in? What different colors, different styles, different looks, different feel, right? All those are in the expansion phase. Complete the look. You see it in the bottom here from Ralph Lauren. Complete that look of the sweater you bought. Here's what goes well with it. And then the final stage is advocacy. This is when you send out, leave a review. How did we do? Take our survey. All those are important. And all those could be multiple emails or all in one email or a text message. So as you can see, there's multiple touches of your program within each stage. It's up to you to define how the stages work. Again, I'm going to go even deeper into the post-purchase hourglass on a separate webinar, but this gives you an idea about if you focus on growing, delighting, and retaining customers and not leaving it to customer service or not leaving it to your fulfillment team, you will turn those one-time buyers into lifetime buyers in half the time. Okay. The third strategy right here is omni-channel and multi-channel. These are the two areas where you can really kind of congregate all your efforts in and make sure that you get customers to buy in more places than they thought they could before, right? And get involved in your brand through more channels. So that's the omni-channel and multi-channel approach. So let's dive right in. First off, let's hear the stats. Here's the value of an omni-channel or multi-channel customer, right? 2/3 of every customer will buy more often from brands that have an omni or multi-channel approach. That's according to McKinsey. I read McKinsey a lot, as you can tell. So what does that mean? What is multi-channel or omni-channel? Multi-channel means you are able to get them to conversate with you, to communicate with you on more channels than just email or SMS. This is why you see emails in your inbox, such as like, join us on social media, subscribe to our TikTok channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? Get involved with the community. Is it going to make you money right away? Not always, but the top brands know that if they get them onto another channel, the chances of them buying again increase by 200%. If they're a customer that likes them, that follows them on Instagram, follows them on YouTube, TikTok, signs up for email and SMS, the chances of them buying are higher, right? So you have to have that multi-channel approach. Omnichannel is when you have customers get a unified experience across all your e-commerce. So let's say I go into a store and I want them to know, where did I buy in the past? Or I bought an item online and I will need to return in store. Or I bought a product online and I want to swap it for a new one in store. You name it, that's the omni-channel approach. So it's so important to have that unified customer experience. If you excel in those two areas, you'll see lifetime value increase, and it's so easy. It comes down to sending an email saying, hey, subscribe to our channel. Hey, join us on Instagram. Hey, visit us in store for an extra bonus, right? Come to our special event. That increases lifetime value. The direct-to-consumer, that's why you have Warby Parker opening stores. That's why you have Wayfair asking for you to download their app. That's why you have brands asking you to come to their events. All that is meant to increase lifetime value. And the more channels that a customer buys into, the more revenue potential you have at your fingertips. And you can track it all. You can see, how are they subscribed to our, well, I don't know if you could do it in all ESPs, but a lot of ESPs, so a lot of customer data platforms, you can see which channels this person is signed up for and use that for segmentation. The 3 core pillars to focus on if you're a small brand are this, right? Make sure the experience is seamless, it's personalized, and customer-centric. What does that mean? Let's bring that down from high level down to eye level. Seamless means that you focus on email and SMS as a unified journey. If you're sending a card banner from email, you should not send a card banner from SMS at the same time. It's got to be mapped out, mapped together. If you're running a Facebook retargeting ad, send it after email and after an SMS. So it's got to be a seamless experience. That's what we mean by multi-channel approach, right? If you want to get them to buy more, you can focus on apps, plus the website, plus the store, but plus do a direct mail piece. So that's how you do even more expanded, right? So orchestration is really what it comes down to. If you were to say, like, I need to market to a person, let's get orchestrated in your approach. That's what we mean by seamless. If the more orchestrated you are with every single touch point of your marketing, the better off your brand will be, the more convinced the customer will feel that they can trust your brand, and you're not just bombarding them with messages. The next stage is personalized. You need to get more personalized data in everything you do. So a good example of this for brands from email and SMS side is you need to get personalized data in your cart. So therefore, if they look at their cart data on their desktop and they look at it on their mobile device, it's unified, it's seamless, it's the same exact thing. The worst part is if I open my cart abandoned email from my mobile device, I click through and they don't have my cart because it's not matched, not paired, right? Shopify can pair it if you're using Shopify. So it's so important to focus on the personalization of your data because that will increase lifetime value. And it's so simple to do. A few tweaks in your code and you should be good to go. So that's personalization. Really amp that up. And then the last part of it that you as a brand can focus on is being customer centric, right? You need to give the customer access to the communities. Let the community sell for you, right? Bring them into your overall your Facebook groups, your WhatsApp chats. All those areas will lead to a lift in lifetime value because it's not just you selling them, it's you educating them. Okay, when you educate, you build relationships. When you sell, you break relationships, you break rapport. So another example of that is dive into loyalty and rewards, right? Get them into that community of loyalty, that community, create an account, unlock more additional rewards, join a community of people who are coming to a special webinar or a special event. All that is part of the community. So as main takeaways, all these can be emails, all these can be text messages. You just need to map it out. So if there's one thing to focus on how do I get that seamlessness? How do I get the personalization? How do I get the customer centrism in everything I do in order to grow lifetime value? The other part is that it's not just about email and SMS. In this case, it also has to be, you need to work in concert with other teams, with other departments, because at the end of the day, the customer has to grow in value across the board. It's not just one channel. So work together with everyone. And if you increase the number of channels that you're connecting with them and you're seamlessly having a personalized experience across the board, you will increase a lifetime value for your brand. So we're kind of at the tail end here. We introduced the 3 strategies right now, right? Strategy number one, improve the buyer migrations. Keep the buyers moving back and forth track what they're doing right now and shrink it, decrease the lag. Strategy number 2, excel in your post-purchase hourglass strategy, which there's a whole separate webinar. I'm going to dive into that as well. This is some good takeaways you can take already. And strategy number 3, focus on getting them to buy into more channels: Facebook, social media, Instagram, in-store, online, rewards, loyalty, create an account, get their address, mail them a postcard. All these stages, if you excel in it and focus on them, they're very easy to focus on. If you start doing it, you'll see a higher lifetime value from your customers and get rewards pretty quickly. Let me walk you through a little bit about some of the results you can see from that. So as I said, we had in the past, we showed you that screenshot that said if I grew a one-time buyer to a two-time buyer, you went from $110 value to an $863 value with one extra purchase, right? That is a pretty good extra value from a small one-time buyer. But then overall, you can grow your percentage of revenue from your email and SMS channel because it's the most intimate way to grow LTV. You can grow that revenue from 12% to 30% in 90 days, like this brand went. Was that 12% of total revenue went from $112,000 a month in email revenue over to $354,000 in a matter of days, right? Matter of days, because they focused on relationship building. Here's that LTV result again. One-time buyer to repeat buyer, we just discussed that. 7-time increase in annual value, 9-time increase in lifetime value, 25% jump in average order value. Great numbers to kind of bring home. And another great example, right? You can grow email and SMS revenue by 318% year over year simply by doing this LTV strategy, focusing on building that relationship. They buy more. They know they're being personalized. They know that post-purchase is working. They know that customers will know all this. Customers know that you are, connecting with them on a deeper level, and the email revenue grows for your brand. So it's good to have that high-level flywheel approach and bring it down to the email channels as well. And just another final case study of a $2 billion retailer who grew email as a percentage of revenue every single month by focusing on post-purchase strategy. This is predominantly the post-purchase strategy because they were doing the same campaigns in the past. Now it was just mainly the post-purchase plan. They went from 6% of total revenue from email over to 14%. Now, if you're a $1 billion brand, $2 billion brand, that's a lot of money. That's $10 million to $30 million, per month, right? That's a huge jump. Right. So that's really great to see. And it will continue in that trend for a very long time. So we're at the tail end now. I want to always mention, take the next step. Not only are you taking action on what you need to do for your brand, get your data, take action, improve the buyer migrations, increase your LTV, focus on the post-purchase strategy, hourglass strategy, and focus on omnichannel, multi-channel. But take the next step. If you're a serious e-commerce brand, book a free strategy session, and I'll show you exactly how to do it and how we do it for you, right? That's really important to do. On this free strategy session, we do a free email and SMS audit, an audit of your journey. We're going to kind of map out what the opportunities look like for you. We'll do a review of your coding, design, and personalization. We'll give you an ROI calculator to predict the potential of your email and SMS program and how that works in terms of lifetime value. We'll give you campaign feedback and recommendations, automation ideas and strategies, specifically focusing on growing lifetime value in half the time. We'll review your retargeting experience to see exactly where you're spending more money on paid ads when you could potentially spend it more in email and SMS and keep more profits. That's all valued at $999 free value. And it's about 45 minutes of a strategy session. And we really go in depth. So I invite you to book that call and start taking action right now. Those who take action quickly yield the most results, right? Don't wait another 3-4 months before you call. I've had brands do that. Reality is they could have skipped a step and jumped in right away. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, you get our Launchpad bundle. If you're on this webinar and you've signed up and you've registered, we'll send you our Launchpad bundle. It should be automated, but in case you don't get it, you can go to highflyerdigital.com/2023 Launchpad and get that free Launchpad bundle and kickstart your brand, kickstart that plan this year, right? We all have goals. We all have resolutions we wanted to hit this year. So I invite you to go out and get that Launchpad bundle and get started, right? It's a total free value, about a $5,000 value for you. I just want to make sure you do it. So if you want us to implement it for you, no problem. Again, this includes a free book plus masterclass coming soon, free email cheat sheet, growth guide, 12-month roadmap so you know where you're going, my book, as I mentioned before, free campaign calendar, and all good stuff. All that is in this Launchpad bundle to launch you off. That's what we want to do. Launch your brand. Finally, as I said before, take your next step. Take the next step. Book your free audit. Glad to help you get started on it. Glad to start ramping up fast. right? You can do it yourself, of course, but it's probably faster if you do it with you or let us do it for you. So there's 3 ways to do it. Depends on what you want to do. As we said before, your customers deserve the best. You need to build a relationship with them, and you need to turn that potential lifetime buyer into that potential one-time buyer into a lifetime buyer. You just want to do it in half the time so you don't lose them. So book your free email and SMS audit right now. Glad to jump on the call with you and talk you through how we do this for the top brands and how we bring it to your brand. Really excited you were on this webinar. Thank you for joining. I'm super excited to talk about our next webinar topic. I'll be dropping it on our website soon, highflyerdigital.com/webinars. And I hope this was valuable to you. I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Talk soon.